Politicians continue to stall on the bill to ban trading in stocks because they trade in stocks. And thank God Nancy Pelosi, whose husband owns a heck of a lot of stocks, is appearing on RuPaul's Drag Race. Finally, let's get something done. Hello there, you 5.6 million awakening wonders. Thank you for joining me on this voyage. You know you can come see me live if you want. On July the 10th, I'm doing this community event with Wim Hof and Vandana Shiva. There's a link in the description for tickets. Or sign up to my mailing list. I'll tell you all the crazy live things I do. I'm always doing amazing live events online and in real life. Is this real life? A man wearing a t-shirt with his own head on it, complaining that Nancy Pelosi is appearing on RuPaul's Drag Race. In fact, that's not what I'm complaining about. Appear on RuPaul's Drag Race if you want, but just don't drag up as a person who cares about other people when you and your family own stocks in a multitude of corporations that you participate in the regulation of, stall a bill to ban politicians trading in stocks that they regulate, and then turn up on the telly claiming to care about diversity, which, do you know what I care about? I care about diversity. I care about it now. I care about it all the time. I don't need to go on RuPaul's Drag Race on the off chance that it might drive a few people to vote for a party that won't do anything to meaningfully change society for the benefit of all. No matter who you are or how you identify, you will not benefit from politicians being able to profit from buying stocks and shares in companies that they're supposed to regulate. Let's get into it. Speaker Nancy Pelosi expressed her support for the drag community and encouraged Americans to vote while appearing on the reality show RuPaul's Drag Race over the weekend. On Saturday, Pelosi made a surprise appearance on the 7th season of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, walking out onto the centre stage in front of contestants before giving a quick speech in support of competing drag queens and the show at large. Now, of course, there have been many communities that have been historically repressed and have experienced prejudice and bigotry in American life and throughout cultural life across our planet. And in my opinion, those communities deserve support and love under this principle: kindness, acceptance and tolerance. Spiritual ideas that ought to be conveyed to any of us. No argument there. But aren't you becoming a bit cynical about politicians turning up on TV shows, wrapping their arm around a representative of some particular cause in order to drive you to vote for a party that when it comes to crunch time o'clock won't do the things that they could do, like, you know, supporting a ban on trading in stocks for companies that you're supposed to regulate? It's very important for people to make their voices and their vote heard, Pelosi said. But don't take my word for it. I'm a man with my own face on my chest. Let's have a look for ourselves.
Welcome back.
My honor to be here to say to all of you how proud we all are of you. Thank you for the joy and beauty you bring to the world.
Aww. Politics has just become about saying stuff, hasn't it? It used to be about doing stuff.
Your freedom of expression of yourselves in drag is what America is all about.
It's not only about freedom of expression in drag. It's also about making loads of money in the stock market and through Congress.
Now, Speaker Pelosi, with all the challenges facing our nation, what words of wisdom do you have for us?
Isn't it sort of unusual to see Nancy Pelosi posing sincerely amidst such a spectacle? I don't know enough about the world of drag to comment, but it seems like it's about the kind of vivid expression of forms of self that are not ordinarily accepted within the mainstream with its restrictive ideas around norms, around gender. That in itself is kind of wonderful. I've got some questions around commodifying and commercializing that and whether or not people really care about it till it becomes commodifiable. These are all sort of interesting questions. What the incentives are of big media and big business when they apparently support the rights of minorities and groups outside of the mainstream. I think there are a lot of questions. Do they really care, or are they just jumping on some kind of bandwagon? I'll leave that for you to decide. You can say maybe it's just a good thing for kids coming through and coming up for them to be exposed to a variety of... I'm sure there's all sorts of arguments to be made, perfectly reasonable views on all sides of that argument. But what I think is irrefutable is that Nancy Pelosi ain't there because she got a bunch of friends in drag and cares about drag. It's because she cares about the preservation of the very kind of systems of oppression that this program purports to support and that she's trying to harness the power of. She wants institutional power to remain exactly as it is. She don't want radical new bills brought in that might mean more equality, that might mean dispersing power, that might mean the end of hegemony, that might mean the interests of ordinary Americans, be they black, white, trans, gay, straight, whatever, to become who they are. How can you become who you are? Forget in terms of your gender or sexual identity, but who you are as a person that gets depressed or gets anxious. How are you ever going to realize yourself if you live under the dominion of corrupt, centralized systems that don't allow anyone to have a voice, really, unless the expression of that voice becomes ticking a box to acknowledge one of two parties, neither of which really care about you at all, whoever you are or whatever you wear?
Well, the single most important thing I can say is to vote. With the midterm elections coming up, it's very important for people to make their voices and their vote heard.
Particularly in ways that won't make any difference to me and my money.
Your tenacity is something that we all look up to.
I feel like I've sort of already seen this. I feel like I can sort of half see Jeff Goldblum emerging out of a dystopia, commenting on some unusual, nihilistic, meaningless hellscape. I got no comments to make about RuPaul. Seems like a fantastic person, or people that drag up and stuff. I think that's all super cool. But Nancy Pelosi turning up on that show and claiming to sort of care about drag when really it's a sort of an attempt to just really get the Democrats over the line so they can do more nothing, I think it's pretty cynical.
We throw the word masterclass around here all the time.
Well, the word you should start throwing around is cynical, exploitative, photo opportunity, manipulation of mass media, an attempt to cynically exploit a legitimately marginalized community in order to get votes, in order to do nothing to affect the lives of ordinary Americans of all expressions and varieties.
Well, thank you for that. May God bless America. Can I get an amen?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That's amazing. Let's see what Nancy Pelosi gets up to at work. Meanwhile, banning members of Congress from trading individual stocks is incredibly popular among average Americans. Democrats and Republicans alike have introduced bills to do just that. So why hasn't anything been done? It depends who you ask. I think they're trying to run out the clock, said Democratic Representative Abigail Spanberger of Virginia, who sponsored one of the several stock ban bills now pending in Congress. While Spanberger avoids naming Pelosi directly, she insists that the effort is 100% being stonewalled by anyone who has the ability to move it forward. We saw Pelosi on the TV saying there's nothing wrong with it, didn't she? She said, no, why shouldn't people trade stocks? She said that.
Should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to this second one.
For me, that tells you more about the essence of Nancy Pelosi. And forget Nancy Pelosi, she's just an individual node within a corrupt system, in my view. What about the system itself that is willing to put forward its representatives to gesticulate and perform in a variety of settings? Meanwhile, when it comes to the business of politics, when there is an opportunity to change things, to improve things for ordinary Americans, to create a fairer world, they don't do anything. While Pelosi has publicly expressed openness to a ban, saying if members want to do that, I'm okay with that, both her initial reluctance to the idea and her husband's frequent high-volume stock trades have fed suspicion that she's not actually interested in addressing the issue. What makes you think that I'm not interested in addressing this issue? Well, first of all, it was the initial reluctance you expressed. Yeah, I was just getting used to it. But then there's also the matter of your husband's frequent, high-volume stock trades. Yeah, well, so what if he frequently trades stocks in high volumes? That doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to be an obstacle to progress. Didn't you see me? I was on RuPaul's Drag Race. Pelosi, the sixth richest member of Congress, has risen through party ranks and obtained more and more political power, and her personal wealth has risen right along with it. Don't you think that's a more accurate measure of what Pelosi cares about than turning up on RuPaul's Drag Race? This figure might give you an indication of what her personal trajectory and teleology are determined by. Pelosi has seen her wealth increase to nearly $115 million from $41 million in 2004. And ever since ascending to the top spot in the House, Pelosi and her husband Paul keep getting richer and richer. So there seems to be some kind of alignment between Pelosi's political power and Paul Pelosi's investment. Perhaps there is a direct connection between her knowledge and understanding of the regulations that affect companies like Apple and Facebook and Google, and Pelosi's investments in companies like Apple and Facebook and Google. Allegedly, much of their added wealth is due to extremely lucrative and lucky decisions about when to buy and sell stocks and options in the very industries and companies over which Pelosi as House Speaker exercises enormous and direct influence. The influence is both enormous, oh yeah, but what if it bounces off in the wrong direction or hits an obstacle? Oh no, it's direct. She throws that influence right at it. In years to come, when we're a little more evolved, when we're a little more awakened, and I know you're quite awakened now, can you imagine that we would fail to see the connection between a speaker who has enormous and direct influence over the companies that she regulates and a partner who profits from those same companies? Allegedly. Beyond that, Google, one of the companies in which the Pelosi stock trades have made millions, is one of the top 5 donors to the House Speaker. So there's another avenue of revenue in there. So what's more important? The stocks her and her family trade, the donations that Google make, or going on RuPaul's Drag Race to say this is what America's all about? Fairness, freedom of expression. What is America really about then? Is it fairness and freedom of expression and the right to be who you are? Or do you think it's about making money, then cynically exploiting those people and using their voices and their cultural cachet, for which they have suffered over time without question, in order to drive people to the ballot box so that you can continue to regulate those companies and profit from their success? Hundreds of millions were exchanged on the stock market by elected officials in 2021 alone. In just equities, Congress bought and sold nearly $290 million throughout the year. That's not a small amount of money. It's a small amount of money in like the trillions that get spent through Congress. Your trillions, by the way, but that's an actual lot of money for human beings, isn't it? In 2021, only 3 hedge funds beat the market, but in Congress, 35 politicians did even better. What does that tell you? Hedge funds that are set up by experts with lifetimes of experience, analysis and expertise, specifically in order to make money through stock trades, aren't as good at it as people whose job's meant to be, well, what's your job? Well, I look after the interests of ordinary Americans. I'm in Congress representing their interests. What, and your hobby is you invest in stocks and shares? Yeah, just a bit of a hobby, I don't even really care about it. And yet you're better at it than the people who have built their whole lives around it. I'm starting to think you don't care about drag. Is that what it is? Look, just tell us once and for all. Will you support a ban on politicians trading in stocks that they regulate? Oh my God, will you stop going on and on about me and my family trading in stocks that we regulate? You're starting to be a real drag. And I like drag, actually. Do you see me on RuPaul? Luckily, though, there are some politicians, honourable folk, who want to end this malpractice now so they can get back to their proper business of supporting ordinary Americans. The most co-sponsored bill to ban stock trading while in office leaves a huge loophole for trading corporate stocks based on non-public information. Well, shut that. Dozens of members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, have signed on to bills that would ban members of Congress from trading stocks, something that more than 2/3 of Americans want. Cross-party, everyone wants it. Everyone wants an end of corruption. It's not a minority issue. Pretty majority, affects all Americans. Black, white, trans, gay, straight, drag, everybody's into 2/3. That would include people from every conceivable demographic. Are you going to do it? But most of those lawmakers have gone behind a bill that would keep a major loophole, while a more stringent bill proposed in the House has struggled to find backers. Oh, I've just noticed there's a bit of a loophole in this bill. I've proposed a more stringent one. Hello? There's a more stringent bill? Listen, I can't hear you. I'm very busy. I'm trying to be on RuPaul's Drag Race. Did I say RuPaul's Drag Race? I meant RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know why I said loophole. I don't even like loopholes. That bill, with 22 House co-sponsors and 4 Senate co-sponsors, would prohibit members of Congress and some congressional employees from trading corporate securities, but it would not prohibit members of Congress' spouses from making trades. So there you go. That's how you would do it. So guess which one Nancy Pelosi supports. I don't know for a fact, but given that her husband owns all these stocks and shares, I could make an educated guess. I am not against a broad and inclusive society where everybody, however they identify and express themselves, whether that's religiously or through gender identity, new forms of identification that I've never even heard of yet. Who cares? Let's love and accept each other for who we are. But more important than that is that we have opportunities for ordinary Americans of all persuasions to live their own lives free from corruption, free from the kind of centralized financial tyranny that figures like Pelosi continue to support, and avoids regulation that could make it at least a little bit better. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Please sign up to my mailing list where I tell you about all of the live stuff, both online and in the real world that I get up to. More important than any of that though, please stay free.